All right, episode 9. Just had a great conversation with Emily Nicoll, who just had a successful release on ArtBlocks called Geophylla. It's called Geophylla. Emily is a friend of mine. She's also someone who wears multiple hats. She's a owner and manager of a record label. She's a DJ. She's a digital artist. And she's also a pretty savvy collector as well. So this conversation was pretty interesting. We covered a lot of topics. Obviously, we went through her artistic background and major releases in the previous years, and then also some questions about her thoughts about the blockchain art space in general. So give the episode a listen. It was a lot of fun, and hope you enjoy. Hey guys, before we jump in, I just wanted to mention that I am planning on releasing my first ever photography collection soon. If you're interested in learning more, or you want to support me with the release of this collection, please feel free to send me a message. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment and information purposes only. Please take everything with a grain of salt and do your own research. More information can be found in the podcast episode description below. Ooh, espresso.
Yep.
Nice, fancy.
Found a lot of them.
Fancy. Okay. All right. So, Emily, it's great to have you on. First off, I want to give you a huge congratulations on the recent release with ArtBlocks. That's a huge accomplishment. Well done. And how's everything going these days? How has it been since releasing the work?
Good. It was a kind of a crazy week with the drop. I think everyone who was watching it saw a lot happen. But yeah, it feels good. I'm really happy that it's nice that the whole thing's minted out. It was built to be a long form collection. So seeing all of the outputs together, it's nice.
Oh yeah. It's really, really nice work. Well done.
Thanks.
So just kind of getting started, I think you're someone who wears kind of many different hats, and you have a very interesting backstory as to kind of how you came into this space as a visual artist. And so I really want to kind of give you the opportunity to kind of get listeners up to speed about kind of really where did your artistic journey begin, and kind of in sequence up into the point that you started to release digital works, and minting them as NFTs. So I know that you own a label, you're a DJ, you're a visual artist, you're also a collector. So we're going to be covering all of that, I think, in this episode. But just let's start with kind of the origin story a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I've kind of always made art my whole life. But then in university, I kind of decided I wanted to do more sciencey stuff. So I did chemical engineering, and then quickly after that, working in an adjacent-ish field, decided to start a record label, and that life wasn't for me. I wanted to do something more artistic. And so that is kind of where making art in a more professional fashion started. I did the whole creative concept for the label, all of the cover art. And so I've been doing that since 2015, and then still making art on the side for my personal enjoyment, I guess. And then 2020, I heard about NFTs for the first time because I'd followed a bunch of digital artists on Instagram, and then they started all posting about this crypto art thing. And I was like, what is that? And then, kind of fell down the rabbit hole. In 2021 was when I started collecting. I got into it through Nifty Gateway, RIP. And then found ArtBlocks shortly after. Dreams by Joshua Bagley was my first mint, and I still love that collection. It's so great. And then I also started minting work around that time in 2021, first on Higatnunk on Tezos, and then playing around with minting on other platforms as well on ETH. And then started I got super obsessed with ArtBlocks like you have as well. So
Yes.
got really into
Understatement.
Yeah. Generative art, wanting to learn more about it. And then yeah, eventually kind of had a project last year on ArtBlocks, which was Pacific Spirit with 747 Ryan, who you also know. And that was like in collaboration with my label. So that was the first generative thing I did. And then since then, just still been playing around with it. And then, yeah, just had the recent drop a couple days ago, Geophylla on ArtBlocks. Yeah.
Amazing. So I want to even dig in more just with the with your label. So tell like me a little bit more about your label, because I'm much more familiar with you as a visual artist and a collector in the space,
Mhm.
but it's a side of you that I'm less familiar with. So I would like to actually like kind of hear a little bit more about that, and then also how, you know, kind of like the relationship between what you do on the music side of things, as a DJ and as a label owner, and just being so kind of like connected in that space, and then the some of the inspiration and the directions that you've taken with regards to your visual art. So I'm and especially with some of these kind of patterns and motifs and compositions that you have really kind of like seems to have like focused on. It seems like your work it's all kind of part of like this larger this body of work that's almost like a study of, you know, kind of like these flowers and like it's like almost psychedelic
Mhm.
sometimes, and it's kind of a very I feel like a distinct aesthetic and style from you. So I really want to hear kind of more about that. So
A lot of the visual work is kind of informed by like the music I listen to. And so Alcarisia is my record label. I started it in 2015 while I was working a real job and then decided to quit and move to Berlin um, with Ryan, my partner. And so we were kind of doing music full time then. And I was obviously making art for the label there. Uh, and yeah, the type of music we release, it's focused on what's called acid techno. And so the acid comes from a very specific synthesizer that's used in the music called the Roland TB-303. And it makes this kind of like squelchy, trippy, psychedelic-y sound. And like once you learn what that sound is, you'll recognize it a lot. It's very iconic. And so, yeah, I just really loved that sound. And so the label's been focusing on artists who are using that instrument in kind of different ways. So the label has kind of shifted to be quite open genre wise. Like Ryan just put out Pacific Spirit, which was the ArtBlocks connection last year. And that's actually a jungle record rather than techno. Um, and yeah, so like just kind of giving artists, music artists, a platform to put out their creative output using this instrument. And then in terms of the art, like obviously the artwork that I'm making for the label has to be informed by the music. So whenever I'm making a cover, I'm like listening to the tracks, seeing what imagery comes in my mind, uh, and just working off of that. Um, and what's kind of ended up developing is like these layered compositions. I've used a whole bunch of different kind of source material for them. Like some of them are my own photographs. Some of them are like started from 3D models I've built in Blender. And then I kind of post process it all afterwards in Photoshop. So that's sort of the process for the bulk of the labels art. And a lot of times, yeah, it's this like layered effect that kind of distorts the images in a sort of way, so it's maybe harder to necessarily know what you're looking at. Um, but yeah, it's kind of that kind of vibe, and I use sort of the same ideas in my other work as well. So, like, while I'm making my flowers and Blender and stuff, I'm still listening to music, I'm still kind of being informed by this hypnotic, trancy stuff, and I think that sort of comes through in my outputs.
for sure, definitely does. So I want to you know, kind of focus on some of the releases that you've had over the last, you know, 5 years or so. So I think that, you know, you discovered, I guess, this crypto art space, and you had already been, you know, kind of producing visual art for some time. And I believe your first release was in 2021. Pellucid Petals is, I think, the collection name.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you also had another kind of series of work, Spinning Flowers, that was also in 2021. So I think
Yeah.
those are the first two collections
Yeah. So
that
like
you
the very
released.
first stuff I minted was on Tez on Hicketnunk, which is like that I have very fond memories of those days. The community was like so strong. It was kind of an underground vibe.
Yeah.
Um, there it was much more casual and chill than ETH. Like at the time, ETH was very intense. I think there was a lot going on. But yeah, just the community on Tezos was and still is like amazing. And so it was really fun to put out my work there. I kind of saw a lot of parallels between the community vibe there and the techno scene, where it's kind of like a more underground thing. And so yeah, that was like my first work. So some of the spinning flowers and stuff were first put out there. And then yeah, Pellucid Petals was on OpenSea. Um, and that was kind of a study of like how many variants of a similar thing could I do? And so they were all modeled by hand in 3D using a similar kind of template. Like I made my first one and then worked off that for all the others. And I think that was probably kind of inspired by generative art in a way, working on that one with like a collection where they're all kind of cohesive and different variants. And yeah, and then after that, I think I did a collection on Nifty Gateway, which was fun because that was like how I first got into collecting NFTs. That was with NFT Culture, who was like a blog site at the time. And yeah, that was like hypnotic techno inspired as well. Uh, Layered flowers spinning, meant to be like viewed on a TV sized screen, kind of like immersive. And then, yeah, I think I had like a few one-on-ones that I did on Foundation. And yeah, that was the bulk of my work probably before Pacific Spirit.
Right. So the collection that you're talking about, was that Resonance and Reverie? Am
Yeah,
I pronouncing
Resonance
that
and
right?
Reverie. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Resonance and Reverie. And that was also, there was a collaborative component as well with 747. Is that right? With
yeah,
audio as well as the visual side of things.
yeah,
So I guess that's talking about Pacific Spirit, I guess this is like maybe the first collaboration that you both had prior to, actually working on the long
yeah,
form
yeah. No, I
release, is
actually
what it
hadn't
seems like.
realized that, but that's true.
Yeah,
Probably
very
was, yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And
So that's
then I did see some more works on your website. Your website makes it very easy to kind of like go through your entire body of work. So I always appreciate that when I'm prepping for these conversations. But you also released a series called Hypnotics,
Mhm.
which is kind of this black and white still image series. So I really liked the aesthetic of those. I kind of want to hear a little bit of the backstory and process behind this body of work here.
Yeah, so those were like very heavily inspired by my process for the album artwork on Akarisha. So like I kind of consider my album art on Akarisha its like own project as well. And so Hypnotics was kind of taking my same like post-processing method from the Akarisha art and applying it to things I'd made in 3D. So I'd make these like really complicated structures. And a way I work actually in 3D is I like to do things wrong a lot. So like my meshes are not like accurate. They're totally broken. It is not how you're supposed to use the program a lot of times. But I think that makes like some interesting, weird things. And so yeah, I'd like build the structure in 3D. I had it like super metallic, and so the lights would only like pick up certain edges, and then yeah, post processing it in the same way that I did in the Akarisha art. And yeah, the name Hypnotics like comes from the hypnotic techno that kind of inspired it. Even like the naming, I kind of named it how record labels do catalog numbers. So it's like HYP001 was the first one, and yeah, it's a little series there.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I saw that on the website. That makes sense now. Yeah, these are really I really like these pieces, and they some of them resemble kind of like flowers, some of them
Mhm.
resemble almost more like snowflakes to me. But it's all kind of like this like symmetrical kind of like geometry that is really like aesthetically pleasing. So
Thanks.
um and then I guess the another collection, subsequent collection that you released, that feels like there's again kind of a similar link, but you definitely took a bit of a different direction with this one, is Whimsies, and
Oh,
that was
yeah.
released in 2024.
Mhm.
So, and this is the first time it seems like you were using AI as
Yeah.
part of your process. So, talk about Whimsies. Uh,
Yeah, so I always love to, like, try new things. Like, when AI came out, like, I was just like, I wanna know what this is about." And, yeah, so I started playing with Stable Diffusion. That was the, AI tool I used for Whimsies. And around the same time, Shape had just launched, and I love the Shape team. They're great, and I was really excited to do something on their platform. So I think Whimsies actually might be the first like long form AI project on Shape. Um, but yeah, so I'd been working on that using Stable Diffusion for a while before, and then I saw Shape launch, and I was like, okay, maybe this is like a good time to try putting stuff out there. And yeah, Whimsies, it was kind of built off of like a few of my album covers have this sort of face with inside a not necessarily a flower, but like a other element. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of how this evolved. And then there's some like fun ones with like eyeballs in the middle and just like more abstract ones. Yeah, so that was a fun one.
I love the collection. It's some of them almost have like this like kind of clay sculpture type feel to them, and then
Mhm.
like there's like kind of like some different textures a little bit, and the the kind of the faces or like that kind of living being kind of
Yeah.
component in the
Yeah, some of
middle
them are kinda,
sometimes
like,
is
goofy as well, which I kind of
some of
like.
them are goofy, cute, some of them are
Yeah,
bizarre. It's kind of like a wide range of emotions
yeah.
going through the collection, but yeah, I love. I remember when you were releasing this, I thought, wow, this is really really cool, and I found like it was a really elegant way of you kind of combining, these new AI tools
Mm.
with your previous body of work. So, yeah, that's really really interesting to hear you kind of talk about that. And then I think after this collection, this is when you had the release of Pacific Spirit, which is a long form generative release with ArtBlocks.
Mhm.
So I really want to hear the backstory of this. This is a collaboration with 747, and like for someone who has been, working on my own algorithms behind the scenes, I know how much, how difficult it is to. I can only imagine how difficult it is to create a body of work like you guys did, that you released on ArtBlocks. So, and it's a lot of technical, skills that are required in writing these algorithms. So, what was the, I guess, inspiration? I know that you obviously learned about art blocks and you fell down the rabbit hole, but I guess, you know, just talk about your process a little bit of how you and 747 came up with, like, I guess, the concept here,
Mhm.
and you know, take us through the process of releasing with art blocks and what that was like.
Yeah, so, obviously, music has been, like, a huge part of our lives throughout both of our collecting journeys, and journeys just, like, in the NFT space in general, and so we've always kind of been interested in figuring out how music and NFTs could overlap, because I think that's a really tricky thing, like, it's not as simple as just, like, minting a track, because people don't own music anymore, and the whole point of NFTs is ownership. Um, so, like, how do you incorporate the 2 in a way that makes sense with the, um, just, like, consumer behavior, I guess? like art is still something people want to own, but music, it's devolved into just like streaming. You literally don't even own an MP3 anymore. You just consume it. So I think like that's maybe part of the reason why uh, a lot of the attempts to tokenize music didn't necessarily make sense. And so I'm sure there is a way to do it in a way that makes sense, but it just hasn't been found yet. And so our kind of idea around this was to use NFTs and generative art to create album covers. So it was kind of using the artwork side of a record release. And it was born because so Ryan had finished this album, and because it was jungle rather than techno, I wanted the art to be a slightly different vibe than uh, the rest of the catalog, just to indicate like how different this body of work was for him sonically as well. And so I was just like playing around in Photoshop. I was like banging my head against the desk, struggling to like find something that I thought looked good. And then I was kind of playing with like drawing these like waveform shapes, which are what you can see in Pacific Spirit. So I was first doing this kind of manually in Photoshop. And then as I was doing it, I was like, this kind of reminds me of some of the like early P5JS aesthetic that was on ArtBlocks, like Factory and stuff like that earlier on. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I could try and do this with code. So I ended up like writing a really simple script for the first output. And it was just a single output. And then so I showed it to Ryan and I was like, what do you think of this as art? And he was like, okay, that actually looks really good. That's sick. And then I revealed that it was generative. And so then both of us kind of had a light bulb moment, like, okay, we should do this on ArtBlocks. Like we're both huge ArtBlocks fans. And it would be really cool if you could have individual covers on every copy of the vinyl. So we both like got to work on the algorithm. We were figuring out traits, how much variance we wanted. The palettes actually ended up referring to the singles. And another just like fun fact, I guess, is the whole album is named after places in Vancouver where Ryan grew up. So a lot of the color palettes were like directly inspired by the place that um, the song was named after. So like Camosun Bog has these like earthy tones, so it's like a bog. And then Second Narrows is a bridge. So it's kind of more rusty and that kind of
I,
vibe. Um,
I love that one. I love that track.
yeah. uh, but yeah, so yeah, we worked on the algorithm, built it out, and then pitched it to ArtBlocks, and explained like we're going to literally print out every single one of these as a record jacket. We wanted to price it on ArtBlocks quite like similar to the price of a record. Once we set it, the price of ETH kind of moved a little bit, so it wasn't necessarily exactly what we intended, but it was close enough. And I think one of the coolest things to come out of that project was how like these were distributed in record shops, right? So we sold half of the collection as NFTs. Anybody who minted would get their copy of the vinyl. And then the other 150, we just minted to a label-owned wallet and then had distributed worldwide through our like regular distributor that we use for all of our records. So there's just copies of Pacific Spirit all over the world sitting in record bins in record shops. And our goal with that was to kind of trick people into liking NFTs and generative art. Because I think like NFTs to the average person, I think has a little bit of a negative connotation sometimes from all the
No kidding.
craziness that went down. And like they're obviously missing a lot of what actually makes them really cool. And I think the way to get people to like something is to let them find it on their own, right? So by putting them in record shops, if somebody's flipping through the bins, they're going to see every cover's different. They're going to be like interested in that. And then on the back of every cover, we had their token number, the link to the ArtBlocks website where they can see all the outputs. So if somebody was interested, they could go dig further and then see like what's actually possible using entropy from the blockchain. They're NFTs. It's all this evil technology, maybe to somebody, but you can actually do cool things with it. Um, so yeah, that was like part of the goal there. And I think it worked out really well. I think people were really excited about it. Um, it was like really cool to see them all get produced. Getting them actually manufactured was kind of a headache, actually. Most pressing plants were like, there's no way we're doing unique covers.
Wow,
Uh,
yeah.
but we managed to make it work, and we're pretty happy with the result.
That's amazing. And I love that it's this Trojan horse of trying to, help with the onboarding process of people, or kind of like that giving them that light bulb moment of like, oh wow,
Mhm.
like there's something really interesting happening here.
Yeah, and I think
So what
actually, oh, sorry.
no,
Like
no, no.
a lot of the conversation on Twitter right now, I don't know if you've been seeing it, but is about all the art fairs, right? And
Yeah, yeah, of
like a
course.
lot of people are upset, maybe for valid reasons, because they're thinking like crypto or NFTs, this is supposed to be like our own thing. We don't need the establishment. But I think another way to look at that is sort of the same Trojan horse thing, right? Where
For sure.
like a lot of these traditional art collectors, they don't even know what's going on in our space. They might hear the word
For sure.
NFT and be like, I don't want anything to do with that. But by bringing this really cool art, like objectively really cool art, into their space using language that they understand, maybe they'll, come join us. And I don't think like the whole scene that's here right now, like none of us are going anywhere. So there's no harm in like exposing other people to it. I don't think it's going to replace what we have. There's still more people in our community right now. And just like letting other people know and understand what it is, have them dig in themselves, I think can only be positive.
I agree with you. I mean, like, look at what Harvey Rayner just did with
Mhm.
algorithmic synesthesia, um, in collaboration with ArtBlocks and released in Hong Kong at Art Basel just a few months ago. And the fact that he had these large prints that were up on the wall that for a traditional collector, let's say, would be um I guess, would be an easily approachable version of the work, you could say, that allows for someone to come in and ask questions with Harvey being there, right? So they can speak with the artist. And then for there also to be, these tablets that are available where people can actually generate their own unique outputs, and understanding that whole process, and then the relationship with generative goods where you don't even have to, like, you can just purchase with a credit card, and then the token is basically sent to a wallet that's assigned to you somehow. I'm not exactly sure the process of how they're doing it, but again, just making it more approachable and easier to
Yeah.
understand the value proposition and the actual movement, I think that's happening. So I think all of these different conversations and all of the work that's being done, to help educate people, you could say, or to demonstrate the value of this technology and what's happening. I think, yeah, it's for sure it's a net positive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think,
Um,
like, the key there is to get them interested enough to do their own research after and kind of
right.
dig in further. Like, I think there's probably, like, generally 2 types of people in the world. There's, like, people who like, things to be mainstream. They like, general consensus around stuff before they adopt it. So that's, like, people like fans of and using music as an example, you're like a pop fan, and you like things that have a lot of social validation.
Hmm.
And then there's also people who like to discover things on their own and feel like they found it. And yeah, I think that's probably most people in our space right now. Like we like to dig around and like feel like we discovered something cool. Um, and so in order to like get into mainstream consciousness, you need to convert enough of those people who are going to find it themselves to make it big enough that it becomes mainstream. So like, yeah, all this Trojan horsing, like meeting people where they are, like speaking their language, letting them then learn the technology behind stuff. Yeah, will just like only make the space way bigger.
Agree. And so with Pacific Spirit, was there any like anecdotes that come to mind, like with regards to kind of like some feedback that you've heard from people that ended up buying the vinyl record without knowing that this was like a that there was a digital NFT component?
No, like we actually haven't heard anything negative about it. I
Mm,
think, um, yeah, like that could just be part of the vibe of the space. Like techno's like, it's a small community, so people generally aren't trying to be too toxic. Um, but yeah, I think like people just thought it was really cool. I think like one thing that was really cool is like record stores weren't knowing to expect a box of all different records. So I think for like vinyl heads in particular, people who work at record stores, like when they're unboxing it, they're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, uh,
interesting.
trying to like figure out how to uh sell it, right? Like every record store as well online, like some of them will have just one output as the cover. Some of them will put multiple. So it's just kind of a cool experience. And like, I know one of our friends went to buy a copy in person and let us know, like, when they said what they were trying to buy, the staff was like, oh, we have a whole bunch. They're all different. Here, let me go get them for you. Pull them out from the back and let them choose. So yeah, I think most people like thought it was cool. I don't know how many people dug into the NFT component afterwards. We haven't like necessarily heard any specifics there, but I mean, they all have a token number on it. They all have a link to ArtBlocks written in big blue font. So I assume some people have figured it out.
That's awesome. Um, Okay, cool. So after the release then of Pacific Spirit, um, it seems like, you that must have been a big milestone for you, knowing you
Yeah.
personally and, like your affinity towards art blocks and long form generative art. Um, so first off, what was that experience like? And then secondly, it'll be about this your most recent collection is really what I want to jump into.
Mhm.
So what was that like? And then also take us to up to speed to
Yeah.
Geophylla.
Well, it was like such a huge honor to be accepted onto our blocks in the first place. Like, um, you also know, like we're very obsessed with it. I think it's so cool. And yeah, so we like wrote a long email pitching our idea for the project and then sent it to DeFi, our mutual friend, fellow Canadian.
Shadow
And
DeFi.
yeah. And then he shared it with the ArtBlocks team and like they liked the idea. I think he said even Snowfro in particular thought it was cool. So that was just
Ooh.
like the biggest honor you can have, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, it was super exciting. Uh, yeah, and then working with them again, like on this one, was also awesome. AB team rocks.
for sure. So with Geophylla, so again, the release just happened like less than a week ago
Yeah.
at this point, just a few days ago. Well, because this was published on ArtBlocks Studio. So
Mhm.
you have a studio contract? Is
Yeah,
that kind
so
of
I could
how
just like uh
release
yeah,
like on an ongoing basis at
yeah.
this point, which is great. So I guess what was your general feelings, I guess, like leading up to the release of this collection and the feelings once it was actually released and the reception that you've been receiving from the community because from what I've seen there's been a lot of like really positive reactions about the work.
Yeah, so um going into or maybe I'll start from like working on it. So like basically right after we finished the code for Pacific Spirit, I was like still in this mood to keep playing with generative art. And so I kind of did a 2D flower algorithm using P5JS. It was like super simple. It was just I draw petals like ellipses, and then they were transparent, grayscale, and then they'd like overlap. And so that was kind of the bare bones um, foundation for what Geophylla ended up turning into. And so I like took that P5 script, and then was able to kind of bring it into 3D as well, because you can actually use code in Blender to draw geometry and stuff. So I was using the same logic from that P5 script in Blender and then applying my own materials that I normally do for my 3D art manually. And then I remembered that the 3JS exists. And so I was kind of thinking like, when I'm making 3D art, I kind of follow a process myself. And I'm kind of like following an algorithm. So I was thinking maybe, is this something that I can export into a system and have a computer make my art for me autonomously? And so that was kind of the idea behind bringing this into 3JS. And then like digging into it, I realized a lot of the like words in Blender that you use for certain tools like have the exact same word is used in 3JS. So it's actually like uh, a less scary process trying to figure out how to translate my workflow in 3D into 3JS. But yeah, and so it probably took me, it's been over a year, I think, from the beginning of this algorithm. I worked really hard on it nonstop for like the last 3 months after like the first part of it. But yeah, and then so coming into the ArtBlocks release, I was kind of just expecting to put it up on Studio and have it sit there, and maybe every few days someone in Block Talk would mint one, and it would just be very casual. Like there's still 45, I think, open projects on Studio from like crazy artists that I admire so much. So like definitely didn't expect any of the craziness that happened. Obviously, a lot of that is thanks to Manuel's drop last week, which was also, I think, probably overwhelming for him too, because we'd been kind of sitting in this environment where there hasn't been much attention on art blocks. Um, and then all of a sudden, Manuel's algorithm, deservingly so, because it's super cool,
Yeah.
but just like had a crazy onslaught of attention, both from collectors and then also um, other characters that exist in our scene, which you and I both are very familiar with, right? We've been here long enough to know what can happen and does happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I think overall it's like a positive thing, right? Like even us collectors of art blocks, like who still like love it and follow it, there is less excitement over the last while. So this is definitely bringing some excitement back, some attention. I think it's like a good thing. It's part of releasing art as tokens, right? Like if we wanted to just sell art with no uh, other things going on, like we would just sell it the traditional way. So I think, like some of these dynamics are part of what makes it fun and interesting and unique to crypto.
For sure. Yeah. I think it comes with the territory, and there's, positives and negatives and, different kind of perceptions, I guess, like as to, um, what these sorts of dynamics mean to each person on an individual level.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it comes with the territory. And I agree, it does bring some excitement and some renewed interest into the space for people that might have been engaging less, let's say, in the space. But also, I have some mixed feelings about it because I think you can probably relate, like when we, go to Marfa, let's say, like, and you're with your tribe of people that are, diehards and just super passionate about the space overall. Um, to me, when I see some of the, the exuberance or excitement in the space that is beyond what we've been used to over the last, let's say, like in the last year or two overall. For me, there's a part of me that feels like, oh no, like are we losing, are we going to lose now that tight knit passionate community of people that are like that have been exclusively pretty much here in the past like year or two.
Mhm.
But I feel like I feel like if we're going to end up having, the space continue to grow and to mature, then there's a certain amount of just having to kind of like let go in a certain sense of like trying to, envision that, things are always going to just stay the same. It's kind of like you have to let, the you have to let the space grow in the way that it will, and for people to interact in the space the way that they will. And yeah, it's just been interesting to see though in the last week or two, just like kind of like the
But I
shift in
think
in
like the
sentiment.
core collector community like will still exist and be strong no matter what the like market noise is.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it's just like I mean this is a problem, or I don't know if you necessarily need to call it a problem, but it's a thing that's been going on and people have been trying to solve for a really long time, right? Like Harvey even with his latest one did like exclusively whitelist, like personal reach outs and stuff, which I think is like an interesting way to distribute the collection. Um, and so, yeah, I think there's different things to think about. Like I was thinking about like allow list and stuff before my drop because I was getting all this crazy Twitter activity that I was not used to. But it's like hard to say like how much of that is real. There's like I said, like 45 open projects on Studio. So I think
Yeah.
um like why would mine be any more special? And I think it just so happened that the time that it got dropped, like it's actually funny because I planned to release it about a month ago and then kept delaying because of like scheduling conflicts with ArtBlocks. And then I was like, oh, I don't like this. I want to fix this and stuff. So it just ended up happening that my week was after Manuel. And so for better or for worse, like, it unfolded how it did. I think like if the next few releases also have the same sort of attention and activity, I think the concept of an allow list maybe like gating to collect art blocks collectors first or something is maybe a discussion again, like if the platform itself has uh, a lot of attention again. But it's just so hard to know, right? Because there's like no indicator prior to this that it was going to be uh, like randomly 2 weeks ago crazy attention.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Just
So
part of
interesting.
part of the life.
Definitely. Yeah. And there's certain aspects that are just reminiscent of a few years back.
Yeah.
Um
Which also
like
was the
early
most fun
beginnings.
time.
It was wild. It was wild for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of which, I mean, I can see you have this beautiful 100 print piece behind you by Ben Kovac,
Oh
and
yeah.
see the Meridian book over there as well. Um, I'm kind of interested to hear a little bit of different artists that you either find inspiration from, or that you're really drawn towards in the space, and
Mhm.
especially as it relates to generative art.
Yeah. So um I think well, specifically to generative art, I think one of the coolest things about it is the way that traits can be incorporated. And I think like using traits as part of the art is kind of a really fun thing that's unique to this sort of long form generative art. And that was probably brought to the space, I think, by Snowfro with Squiggles, where he obviously took a lot of inspiration from punks, um, where you have these like super rare traits. You have the alien, the zombie, the bold, the hyper. And then by just letting it loose in this generative long form format, you can get these like cool interactions of rare traits and you get these ultra rares, and it just makes it so fun to comb through the collection as a whole. Like other projects that I think did that really well was Fidenza, obviously. Ringers is one that OG block talkers always talk about spending literally hours and hours digging through.
Hmm.
Um, and Matt Delorier with both his Subscapes and uh, Meridian
Meridian.
collection. And another like thing, I guess, that's interesting about the way to calculate traits is I think Tyler Hobbs was speaking about it was there's certain traits that may look really cool, may look the coolest. Maybe you'd want to make them the most common because they're so cool, but they actually maybe are more suited to be more rare, right? So you can have like using Fidenza, like dark lifestyle and party time. They do sort of, once you've seen one, you kind of understand the idea. And it's the same case with Meridian, right? Where you have charcoal and newsprint. And like charcoal is my favorite style,
It's
I think.
amazing.
Yeah,
Just like
so cool.
amazing.
But once you've seen it, you understand it. And so it might be more interesting from an algorithm sense to have prismatic be more common because there's just so many more options. And
Yeah.
when the algorithm is just spitting them out, like there's a crazy amount of variance. So I kind of took inspiration from those projects with Geophylla, where we have like trace and wire, which are my favorite looking outputs, but they do start to look the same once you have so many of them. Whereas the solid ones, where there's like more interaction of petal sizes and layers and shapes, there's just like it's a much wider variance of what they can look like. And yeah, so I think like traits as part of the art is just like a really fun thing that's unique to our space. Um, and actually, it's kind of reminds me of you went to Mitchell Chan's talk in Marfa, right?
I didn't
The
make it. No,
You weren't
I
there?
didn't. No.
Okay. Well, it was really good. It's on YouTube, so you can rewatch it. But one of the things he was talking about was how art can pull people in and push people out. Like you want to kind of interact with it at different distances. And one of the examples he used was these impossible bouquets, where it was like a really big image, but then embedded in the frame was really tiny text. So in order to look at it, like you have to stand back to see the full thing, but then you're drawn forward to read the tiny text. And then another example he used was like, well, how do you kind of get people to have that feeling with digital art? And so, like, one thing that happens a lot is these really big screens, right? So make it big and then it's awesome.
Hmm.
And then another example was time. And so, like, Mitchell, I guess, does a lot of video game art. And so you have to spend time exploring it to experience it fully. And I think you could also say that traits are a way to spend time with a long form project, right? So um, having fun digging through, seeing what combinations there are, combing through the collection, like trying to snipe a rare that got listed low. Like there's just so many um, different ways to engage collectors when you have a really good trait distribution. Um, and so, yeah, I think like that's as a collector, the traits have like always been such a fun part of the art. Um, and yeah, so I definitely wanted to take inspiration from some of my favorite artists in
I
that
love
sense.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. That's so great. I feel like with your trait distribution, it's balanced in just like a very like you did a really good job with that, I think.
Thanks.
Um,
Yeah. Like another thing, just as like an artist, it's so hard to decide when you're done. So like even now that the collection's out, there's tweaks I want to make. And
right.
I'd probably just work on it forever if I could. But yeah, I think it came out pretty good. I'm happy with it overall, even though I could still get back in there.
For sure. And kind of like on the point of some of these artists that you appreciate. Obviously, you have the print there for collectors in the digital art space, in the blockchain art space. Like one of the great benefits is that you can have ownership of work without it taking up additional physical space. That's like
Mhm.
a benefit, but also um, I know that you're someone who likes to actually collect also like physical works. So I just want to hear about, how you kind of think about your own collection, um, putting on your collector hat, when it comes to owning the digital and also owning physical works, and
Mhm.
also relate that to you as an artist as well. Putting on the artist cap as well. How important is it to you that that collectors can have both digital and physical forms of the work?
Yeah, I think like certain collections are more suited to physical representations, especially right now, like with where screens and stuff are at. Like obviously, hunter print are like beautiful as prints. I think they were designed to be printed. Literally says print in the name. And like, yeah, just like staring at them is so fun. Like the perspectives, the warping, um, and like, yeah, it's just super trippy and disorienting, dissociative kind of. And I think like these translate really well to print. And when you look at them online, they're still cool, but being able to just like get lost in it in person, um, like works really well. So I think, yeah, like certain pieces translate really well to print. I think like Tyler Hobbs as well is someone who thinks about print a lot in his coding process. And same with Matt Deloria, actually, same two examples as earlier.
Yeah.
Um, I think it gets trickier when you're talking about like animated works and stuff. I think we don't have the perfect way to display them yet. Like my dream would be like my favorite art block of all time is Gazers by Matt Cain. And like I wish I could have like a square, really high quality screen like displaying that. Like that would be my dream to display it live as well. Cause like a lot of the screens right now, like you need to upload an MP4 or whatever, and it kind of takes away from um what some of the artwork out there is meant to do.
Yeah.
Like Gazers obviously is like forever evolving. It's actually one of my favorites because I think about it so much. Cause whenever I'm like outside and I look up and the moon looks trippy, I'm like, I bet my gazer looks crazy right now. And I love looking at it. Like
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and actually to go back to the traits topic, Matt Cain also did a really cool thing with traits there where he had like surprise traits.
Yeah.
These like
Right.
Easter eggs and you don't know what they are until
Right.
it happens. So I think that was kind of like an interesting way to incorporate traits as well, like outside of just the like rarity factors. There's like you can get airdrop something that you don't know what it's going to be or when it's going to be and stuff like that. Anyways,
Definitely.
yeah.
I think Matt, I think he had the all-time record, at least at the time, with the most amount of traits for gazers. I think there's like
Oh, right.
30 or 40 or more traits. It's just kind of crazy. It's so
Yeah, I think
chaotic
you're right.
looking through, but yeah, I mean, the fact that you're thinking about it all the time and appreciating the artwork as it continues to evolve just I think really demonstrates what a remarkable job he did with that collection. Um, so I gotta ask, with the physical works, is there any? Do you have like a favorite uh, that you own? You know, like either
Mhm.
like a print or anything else. I'm just kind of curious because, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, my favorite probably, I think you've seen it when you've been over, is the scribbled boundary.
That's
I actually have
great.
2 scribbled boundaries prints. And speaking of like having digital, you can store it infinitely. I only had room to put one up because they're huge. So one of them lives in the closet, which is kind of sad.
Oh,
And I just swap them out every now and then to like
oh,
get to experience.
okay.
But yeah, I think those they look so cool
Yeah,
printed because it
yeah,
is like a pen line, so it
y-
feels like something that should be physical. And then like whenever people come over and they don't know what it is, they're like they think it's just hand drawn. And
yeah.
then I'm like, no, 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 it's like made with code, and then they get very confused. Um, but yeah, I think those are so cool. Like the way he had them printed as well. It's on this like handmade Japanese paper,
Right.
so it's
With the
like
deckled
really
edge.
beautiful and looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that one's probably my favorite. But I don't know, like I love them all.
I know. Right. Um, so the another thing I want to ask, I ask every guest on the show, or with every conversation that I have. I want to hear your general perspective on the importance of IRL in our space, and also specifically relating it to ArtBlocks weekend in Marfa, Texas, which I know
Mhm.
you've attended 3 times, I think. Is it 3 times?
Ye I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't go the first year. I went 2 years, skipped one, and then again. So yeah,
Okay.
that sounds
There
right.
you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think online is still the most important. I think, or at least it was the most fun too. I think I wish Block Talk was as bumpin' as it used to be because that was like such a fun time. And like just all like, yeah, I think the way that our scene grew was from online during the pandemic. Everyone's like stuck at home. Um, but I think like Marfa's so much fun and getting to see everyone there is great and putting faces to names. So yeah, I think both are important. I'd probably weight online slightly more important, but I love in person. Um, and I'm going to go to Marfa again and probably keep going forever until I can't. So
I feel the exact same way. And relating it to traits, it's kind of like the online interactions and activity is like the is like the more common traits, but being able to
yeah,
go to some of these like especially ArtBlocks weekend, that's like the rare trait. You only get to do it like
yeah.
once a year. But it helps to kind of bring the entire I guess the community and the experiences we have.
Mhm.
I think it really elevates it. Personally. That's why I always
And
want to
that
ask.
is something, yeah, specific to NFTs as well, right? Is like the network aspect of collecting in this way. And how like you actually can know, at least by like screen name or wallet, who owns the other works. You can make connections and groups, whereas like everything's kind of hidden in traditional art spheres. So I think yeah, just like it's a really cool feature of our space.
Agreed. So I don't know if there's any other kind of topics or anything that you wanna talk about while we're still
I
recording here.
think we covered a lot.
Yeah, I think we did
Um
too. But
yeah, I don't know, how have you been?
I mean, I've been good. I'm just waiting for Marfa. I feel like I'm lacking a little bit in the IRL space. Connecting with the community. It's been some time, but
Well, we saw you recently when you visited Toronto.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was great. That was really nice. Went for some good Vietnamese food.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, but everything is good overall. I feel
Yeah.
like could be a lot worse, and I'm excited for what's to come in the space, and I'm working on some different projects and things myself behind the scenes. So hopefully
Right, I saw
I'm going to
your
share more information about that.
photography project was teased a little bit
I'm going to
recently.
tease it. I'm going to tease it, I think, in
Okay.
this episode as well. Yeah, I'll be
Nice.
releasing kind of more details like real soon. So that's
Yeah, awesome.
been,
I think photography is something that like I feel like I'm seeing more people talk about it on the timeline, but
yeah,
a few years ago it was like a very like prominent thing in the NFT space. I think Justin Aversano was like spearheading
yeah,
a lot of that with his platform Quantum, and yeah, hopefully photography can see another big moment soon. Maybe you'll kick
yeah.
it off this time.
Hey, maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Well, Emily, it's great, chatting with you. I want to congratulate you
no
again
problem.
on another successful release. And if there's anybody who's listening who wants to reach out and get connected with you, you know, should like, how can they do that?
Yeah, at Nicoll, Nicoll on Twitter. Yeah, basically that's probably the best place. Uh, yeah, and you can see my website for like a breakdown of everything. Actually, to see all my minted stuff, raster.art, probably the best place.
Okay.
Raster
Raster.
is very nice UI, and happy with it.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Emily. Hope to see you sometime soon. If not in Canada, then hopefully in Marfa later this year. And yeah, wishing you all the best. And I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for any future releases you have.
So nice chatting. Thanks.
Okay. No problem. All right. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and YouTube, and give me a follow on Twitter at longformart. As mentioned, none of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment and information purposes only. More information can be found in the podcast episode description. And thanks so much for listening in. I'll be back soon with another episode.